Oh, look at all these waves. I love that. There's loads of you that don't have your pictures up though, and I'd like to see you at some point anyway. Have you ever had one of those days where you feel you're meeting yourself coming back? It's been a bit like that today, and it's because I decided suddenly this morning that we were going to do some crafting and teach you stuff at the same time. So I've been running around like a headless chicken, but we're here, which is great. So I wanted to teach you how to make this rosette because I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit, I'm quite aware of the environment that we're living in. And this year I'm going to use craft paper as wrapping paper. It's because it's recyclable and it can look a bit dull. You know, I mean, it's lovely. I love craft paper, but it's a bit, you know, you need to brighten it up a bit. So I've made this double rosette that has Noel on the top, and I thought it would be really nice in the corner of a parcel. Or you could put a little ribbon on the top of it and have it as a little bauble on your Christmas tree or in your window. So the bit I'm going to teach you is how to create the perforation lines and create the rosette itself. And then I'm going to show you how you do your mats and layers for the Noel, and then we will glue some of it together, but not all of it, because I would really like to try and get something else in at the end I think is really exciting. So we're going to get straight onto it, okay? And don't forget, you can watch this class back. I am going to give you some measurements, so you might want to get a pen and paper so that you can write them down as we go along. And we also have a code for you at the end of the class, which is MEL30, so MEL and then 30. And that will get you the 30% off. So it's the Black Friday deals, but early for you. And it's 30% off everything Brother, apart from the machine, and 30% off the Craftmaster 12x12 cardstock. So it's a really nice code this time. I'm very happy with that one. So what will happen is you'll have it from today till tomorrow night, and then the Black Friday deals kick in, which is 30% off the website. So you're getting your chance to get in early, which is great. So that's your code, MEL30. Andrew will put it in the chat for you. And just make sure you've got a pen and a piece of paper, because as we go along here, I'm going to give you some measurements, although you can watch the class back. Okay, so we're having questions about the Cutting Craftorium USBs that we had on air yesterday. They were 10 of the existing USBs, the content of them that we put on one USB. And because of the deal that it was in, it would have cost you £399 to buy that USB. So you could have just bought the bundle and got the ScanNCut, but it is unique to Create and Craft. Cutting Craftorium is now Create and Craft's brand. And so they made the decision that that's what they were going to do. However, next year, now we know that we're not doing another Tattered Lace subscription. That frees up a lot of our staff and a lot of our time. So we are looking to do our own brand of something similar to Cutting Craftorium, which I think will be called a Cut Above. But I'm not sure exactly when that's starting. So that's kind of the answer. That's now, yeah, Cutting Craftorium is now Create and Craft's brand. So we just do what we're told, occasionally. Right, so Noel, let's start with this. So first thing we're going to do is go into the machine's memory. So we're going to go into our patterns and we're going to go into our borders, okay? And right down at the bottom, so you go right down to the bottom and then you go up 1, 2, 3 pages. And the file B0B002 is a perforation line, okay? So we're going to tap on that and we're just going to set it onto the mat. And it's quite difficult to see because it will come up right at the top of your mat. So we're going to edit it and we're going to go to Object Edit and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees because we need it to be vertical, not horizontal. And then I'm going to resize it and I'm going to resize it to 42 millimeters high. So you need to write down perforation line, 42 millimeters high. Okay, so I'm going to resize that while you're writing that down. Okay, so we've got 42 millimeters on here. We need 29 of them. Okay, so we're going to press OK. And we're going to go into our number button and we're going to press 29. Now, if you're making this narrower or shorter, so the shorter it is from top to bottom, the less you need, because the deeper it is, the bigger the rosette will become. And this is why we need to cut 2 pieces, but we'll go through that as we carry on. So a 29, like that, and we're going to press OK. Now it puts them all in a line like that. And there would be nothing worse than having to position those, but we don't have to, which is great. So we're going to press OK, and we're going to press OK again. And we're going to go to this little box here, and this is your pattern interval. So the pattern interval is the distance between the shapes on your mat. So 1 being the closest together, and then it goes up, and every increment it gets bigger, the wider the distance between the shapes or the lines. It also starts from the edge of the mat. So if it's pattern interval 3, it will leave the space that pattern interval 3 makes, and then it will put the first perforation line down. And that's important because we then need to put a rectangle around it so that we've got something to come out of the cart, because the perforation lines are just cutting into it. So we're going to go into our spanner first of all, and we're going to put our pattern interval onto 3, and then we're going to press OK. And then we're going to use the bottom option, which puts all the perforation lines in a straight line. So we're going to click on that, and you can see now it's put them all in a row for us. So that's so much easier than us having to do it manually, because you'd never get them the same distance apart. So we're going to press OK, and then we're going to group all these together. So we're going to go to Edit. 1 red box means select, which we learnt on one of the previous classes. So 3 red boxes means multiple select. So we're going to multiple select everything that's on the mat, and we're going to press OK. We're going to go to Object Edit, and we're going to group it together. So we've now got our lines, our perforation lines, to make the rosette. Now what we need to do is add a rectangle around the outside. So when you're creating perforation lines in anything, whether it's a concertina, whether it's a spine for an album, whether it's a perforation on a box, you need to make sure that your perforation lines don't hit the top and the bottom of the shape that you're putting around them. Because if they do, they will do what they're meant to do, and they will perforate. So we need to make it slightly bigger. So I usually work on like a 2 mil distance at the top and the bottom. So we're going to make the rectangle 46 millimeters high. By 293 millimeters wide. Okay, so we're going to press OK, and we're going to add, and we're going to go into our patterns and into the basic shapes, and I'm just going to choose the square because I'm going to stretch it anyway, so I might as well use the first shape that I come to. So I'm going to set that onto the mat. I'm going to go into Edit and Object Edit and Resize. I'm going to unlock the aspect ratio, so I'm going to separate the height and the width, which is something that we've learnt before. So we click on that, and this enables me to make this any size that I want up to the restrictions of the mat. So we're going to go 46 high by 293 wide. Like that. So I've now got, it's not going to allow me to do 200, oh, it should do. Go on, keep going. Let me see, one more. Okay, it's been awkward. 292 wide, doesn't matter. I'm going to write that down. It did 293 this morning. It has been one of those days, I have to say. Right, so the next thing we're going to need to do is put those perforations inside of that rectangle, okay? So we do the same thing again. We multiple select everything that's on the mat. We press OK. We go to our directional arrow buttons, and your alignment function is at the top. And we're going to align it centrally vertically and centrally horizontally, like that. And then we're going to press OK. We're going to go to Object Edit, and we're going to group that together. So we now have that first perforation, okay? So that's your pink one. And when you've folded it, so when you pull it out, when you've cut this out, and I'm not going to make you sit here while this cuts it out because it takes a few minutes, you will have on either end a narrower rectangle. So you'll have a small rectangle, a narrower rectangle, then you'll have your first perforation. Then all the other ones will be equal until you get to the last one on the right hand side, and that will be the same as the first one. Okay, we're not worried about these because we're going to have to trim this down anyway to make it work. So you then start with a mountain fold first, then a valley and a mountain, and you work your way all the way along like this. Now I've obviously pre-done this one, but there is one that I need to do. So you'll see how easily it folds. And you'll also see how that is completely level. And that's because the machine has positioned those perfectly, and it's cut those perforation lines evenly. So sometimes if you do it on a scoreboard, it can end up that it's kind of like a bit like that, a bit wonky, whereas on the ScanNCut it's perfect every time. So you need 2 of those, and you're going to cut those out of the cardstock. Now I'm using the Craftmaster cardstock, the one that I've told you you're going to get 30% off today, which is amazing. And I'm using the reds pack, so I've got the pale pink, and I'm also using the brighter of the 2 reds, okay? So let's glue the pink one together so that it's starting to dry as we do this. So I'm going to fold this over, just like I've said with a mountain, and then look how easily this just folds in. Just occasionally go in and press down the perforation lines, but you don't need to go in with a bone folder or strengthen those perforation lines. And what you find is, because when the perforation line that you bring out of the machine, because you're making it smaller, the perforations become smaller. And the smaller the perforations are, the better it is, because then you're not getting those little bits that almost stick out. You know, it's a really smooth, it is literally just cutting the top layer of that card, and it gives you a really, really nice tight finish, okay? So I would advise you, if you got, even if you're doing something that's, you know, if you start with quite a big perforation line, just be aware that as you make it smaller, those lines get smaller, and as they get smaller, it gives you a tighter perforation, if you like. Right, so we need to stick this to this, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to trim off the first the narrower rectangle, okay? And that's just the bit that was created by the rectangle that we put around the outside edge. So we now go in a V and then up and down from there. So to make this fit, I need to cut off one of the full sections and the small piece on the right hand side of the second one. And because you've got a perforation there, you can feel, your scissors will feel when you cut it, they will go into that perforation. It'll feel like using pinking shears. You know, that little bit of resistance that you get, and you'll know then that you've got it in a perfectly straight line. So those little pieces, even I'm going to throw in the bin because I haven't got any use for those. And now I'm going to glue that onto there, and it will continue in that mountain valley fold. So I'm going to take the left-hand side one, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to put glue, and I have literally just taken the little bit out of the top, that skin that had formed, and it's done it again. One of those days. Right, so I'm just going to do this. I'll tell you how bad the day's been. So our lovely Andrew, our producer, parked his car on the car park this morning, right? Jess, our lovely head of graphics, came in 5 hours later and parked behind him and probably about 15 feet away. And then she suddenly came in and she went, Andrew, your car has just rolled across the car park into mine. 5 hours later she came in, he's been parked there for 5 hours. And it's on a level car park. Go figure. How does that even happen? How does that even happen? Andrew thinks it's going to cost him £600. It's been one of those days, I tell you, the universe is messing about today. So once you've got that bit there, look, it looks seamless. So you've now got this bit. So you're then going to take this over, and then you can see that you need to do exactly the same thing on this side. So like this. So you're going to cut the small bit off here, like that. and the small bit and the one next to it off here. Okay, and you can feel it. When you do this, you'll feel it on your scissors and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I definitely need to go and get my eyes tested because I can't see that at all. There we go, I've got it. I can feel it. Can't see it, but I can feel it. Right, so we've now got that. So we're now going to stick this one onto there, and that will give us that continual circle. Right, so glue underneath. Attach that to that. Just give it a little bit of a grip like this. And then we'll set that to one side and just let that dry before we start to manipulate it. Okay, so we've now got that. So we're going to do exactly the same thing now with the red ones, but before you cut your red ones out, you're going to go into your resize button and you're going to unlock the aspect ratio again. You're going to keep the width exactly the same as it was, but you're going to increase the height to 56 millimeters. Okay, so we're just going to make that 56. So all you're doing is changing the height and therefore the width of the rosette. So if I just take the pink layer and take a red one that I haven't yet folded, you will see the difference. So the perforation lines stay in exactly the same place. None of that changes, just the height. Here. Hang on, Andrew's going, oh no. Okay. Look, there. So you can see that you've got the pink there and then the red sticking out at the top. Okay, so that's what it should look like. So you're going to increase the rectangle, the height of it to 56 from 46. Okay, perfect. Right. Oh, we're just going to have to pause here. Told you it's been one of those days. And I'm just going to reboot the page. So bear with us. Honestly, I don't think there is any, well, I'm not even going to say I don't think there's anything else that could go wrong because there is. We might go blank for a second and then I'll reboot it and then we'll be back. I am so sorry. I don't know what else to do but laugh because if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. Hello, are we back? Thank goodness. Honestly, I'll tell you what. When I snuggle up in bed tonight and I get round to the duvet, I'll be glad today is over. It's been one of those. Andrew says he's going to cry himself to sleep. Bless him. You have to put your big boy pants on, Andrew. Right, so, let's get back to where we were. Bear with, well, I'll just take that holly off that mat. Right, so we'd done the pink, hadn't we? And I'd given you the size for the red rosette. So while we were apart, briefly, I've glued the red one just the same way that I did the pink one before. Okay, so now what we need to do is cut some circles, and I need a circle to go under the base. All of it again. Oh my goodness me. Do you know what? Andrew's just, I'm chattering away, and Andrew just suddenly went, oh, they can hear you now. I was like, brilliant, just brilliant. Right, so rewind. While you were away, I'm going to calm myself. I need chocolate after this. I've done the red rosette, so I did exactly the same thing, the same place, cut them, glued it together, and now I've got my red rosette. So what we now need is two circles, one for the bottom and one for the top. So we're going to put our, I'm just going to use the red card because I can, and we're just going to cut two circles out of here. And yes, I should have done this earlier, but like I said, I'm one of those days. At least it's today, not tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a good day. Right, and there's chocolate cake in the kitchen, so that's going to make today good too. Right, so I would suggest that if you are going to make several of these, you save the files, then you don't need to make the rosette again. And actually, I'd just save it anyway, because if you ever need a different, another rosette, it's worth having it saved. Now I can't find my stylus. Of course you can't, Melanie. Right, do your fingernail then. So home, okay. I'm not even pandering to it anymore. basic shapes and down to the circle, and I worked out that a 48mm, go figure, circle is a good size. So I want 2 of them, so I'm putting the number in, 2 in the number there, and then I'm just going to press cut. Now you can see here, this is a prime example. Look at the distance between those shapes. It's not as close as it normally is. And that's because I haven't gone back in and changed the pattern interval. So if you don't go back in and change it, it will stay where at number 3 until you move it back down to number 1. So now when I press OK and I do the straight row again, it puts it back next to each other. So that's something that you need to remember. A bit like half cut. When you put half cut on, it doesn't automatically come off. And I should know that, but yesterday live on TV, just went out my head to take it off, but it was fine. Right, I have no idea where that stylus has gone at all. Okay, right, let's cut the circles and then we'll have oh, it's here underneath my hollow leaves, got it. Right, so hot glue gun for this next bit, and the other thing, my kit and caboodle one wasn't charged, so I've had to borrow one off David. Right, and it's got a lead on it. So I'm going to stretch this across as far as I can get it to go. Okay, so this is why I like my kit and caboodle one, because it doesn't have a lead with it and it doesn't do all this messy stuff of dripping glue everywhere. Right, so we're going to take our pink rosette first of all, and you're going to put a decent amount of hot glue onto the middle like this. Now just remember that it is hot glue, and the clue's in the name, it gets super, super hot. So I bring that across there, I put my rosette over the top, and then I push it in to that glue like that, okay? And I try and make sure that I kind of get an even circle in the middle like that. Okay, so I try and keep it even all the way around like that. And I don't close it completely up, because what I want to do is put this over the top of the red one. So I don't want it super tight so that these pieces here can't get in between that red bit. Although knowing my luck today, probably won't work, but hey ho. Right, so we've now got our red one. In fact, I've done that on completely the wrong rosette. Should have done it on the red one first, Melanie. Told you. It's all good fun today, isn't it? Eh? Brilliant. Love it. Right, so I'm going to get rid of that like this. Oh, Melanie, it's a shame. Right, do you know what? We're going to make another pink one. And the exciting thing that I was going to show you at the end, I will do an extra video and put it out there for you. So I'm going to do this properly if we're going to do it. Right, let's start this again. So, rosette, see how fast we can actually work now. So you want to do the larger rosette first when you're gluing it down. Right, the rest of the day is going to be amazing. So we've got our first one, and then we've got our second one, like so. Okay. I tell you what, the CM class after this will be brilliant, because I'll have made all the mistakes in this one. You might want to watch that one back. Right, so, no, don't watch that one back, because it's more complicated for the CM users than it is for the SDX users. Although I feel like it at the moment. Right, let's do this. Okay, right. So let's go through this cutting down bit again. So we want to cut off the small rectangle on the left-hand side of one of them, and the small rectangle and the first largest one on the right-hand side of the other. Okay, let's do this like that. And then we're going to turn this one over We're going to put glue onto there, like that. And we're going to glue that in place, like that. Okay, so we've got that now. Then we're going to work from this end. So we're going to cut off this one here, same thing again, just checking. And we're going to cut that up there like that. And then the small one and the first large one, full one, off. Go on, get that perforation line. Can't feel it. There we go. Right, done. So we're now going to glue this together. Then we're going to put it together correctly. Andrew's now checking that the cameras are working every 2 minutes. Honestly, you couldn't write today. Couldn't write it. Right, so put that one out of the way, Melanie. We're going to use this red circle here as our base, okay? So we're going to push this and get some glue on here. And then we're going to put this over the top of here. And we're going to push down into that glue. And we're just going to make sure that all those little folds are even. Andrew's just said, you've still got 50 people watching, nobody's left. I'm not sure that that's any consolation right now, Andrew, because it just looks stupid in front of more people. But you know what? It's interesting, isn't it? Every time we go on air or we do stuff like this and we make mistakes, people love it because they're like, thank goodness for that. You do what we do. Trust me, we do that all the time. We just try not to do it when we're live, but hey, it is what it is. You know what? I don't care. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? Right, so next one. Now, this is a little bit more tricky because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this down and then we're going to place it on top of the red one. And we're going to get it into the center so that the circle in the middle of the pink one is similar to the circle in the middle of the red one. And it won't fit perfectly. You'll have to just pull it out a little bit. So let it go back a little bit because you need to be able to get one of these inside each of the red ones. So you can see I'm working my way around and I'm just pulling this around. And this is why I haven't put any glue on yet, because you need to manipulate this. Now, if you're just doing a single rosette, which I'm now beginning to think I should have done in the first place, it doesn't matter. You can literally just fold it and you're done. But to do a double one, which I think is really, I think it just adds a little bit something extra. You've got to just be patient and just manipulate these concertinas into the red ones underneath them or whatever colour you're doing them. This cardstock is the perfect weight for doing something like this. It's 216. Any heavier and it's going to be even trickier. So just where it's doubled up, where we glued it, that's the bit that gets a little bit fiddly, but it's worth it. Right, and once you get that one in, and then that one's going to go in between there, you've just got to manipulate them round. Come on, you know you want to. That's it. There's just one. There's one little tricky one there that doesn't want to play ball. Come on, I know you're there, I can see you, little devil. Go on. In there. And that one. Oh, come on, you monkey. Right. We're there. Okay, so we've got it now. So what I'm going to do is, let me just make sure I've got that right. There. Yeah, sorted. Right, so what I'm going to do now is put glue on here like this. Okay, so I'm going to go around the edge. Now just be careful when you're doing this, please, because I don't want any burnt fingers because it really hurts. I still have a scar from, how old was I? 18, 35 years ago on my finger from hot glue. Right, so I'm going to press that down, and that's your first rosette. And you'll take a little bit more time and you'll make sure that it's all lined up perfectly. But that's your first rosette right there, okay? So you're then going to do the same thing with white and green. I'm not going to make another one, but this is, you're going to do this. So the white rosette, you're going to unlock the height and the width, and you're going to make it 60 millimeters high, okay? So the white rosette will be 60 millimeters high. And then the green rosette will be 65 millimeters high. And you're going to do exactly what you've done with the pink and the red ones, okay? So you'll end up with your green and your white one, and then your red and your pink one on top, okay? And then all I did was I did the whole thing again, the circles as well. So glued the circle on the bottom and then also on the top, rather than trying to slot this pink and red one into the green and white one, because that's just a step too far. It becomes too thick and too bulky. So I did it as two separate ones. Right, so we've now got those colours, and that's all done. So you've got the instructions for that. So now we're going to look at the Noel. And the Noel is actually inside your machine's memory. So we're going to go into our patterns, and we're going to go into our words and phrases, which is this category here. This is the part that's on the SDX 1200. This isn't on the SDX 900, but this is. So you will have all these different words in here. So we're going to scroll down until you get to Noel. I don't know if all of these are on the 900, because there are more shapes in the 1200 than there are in the 9. So I'm going to scroll down and find Noel. So this I thought was lovely. So I thought we'd use this. So we're going to set it on the mat, and we're going to go to Edit and Object Edit and Resize. And you're going to make it 47 millimeters high by 100 millimeters wide. So let's take it down to 40, which makes it 86 millimeters wide. That's because I should tell you it's 47, not 40. Oh, Melanie. Right, 47. Come on. Let's take that up to 47. Tell you what. And then we're going to make it, well, it's 101. So because this is a welded word, for some reason, it won't allow you to separate the height and the width, which is interesting. So on some shapes it does, and on other shapes it doesn't. So you can't make that wider, but you can make it higher. So 47 by 101, okay? Like that. Right, so now what we're going to do is, that's your pink layer. So you're going to cut that out of your pink card, and this is what it looks like when it's cut. And it's a really nice font, that. I like that. I think it looks really cool. But I want something for it to sit on top of. And I want to bring the red from here up to join the pink at the front. So we're going to press OK, and we're going to go to our offset lines here. And this is only available on the SDX. You don't have this on the CM. So for the CM class, which is after this, I've got to do this all over again, which might be hilarious. They will have to take it into Canvas Workspace. So if you want to learn how to do that bit, if you watch the CM class, I'm going to take them into Canvas Workspace. So we're going to make this 2 millimeters. So its default setting is 1.5. So all we do is press the plus until we get to 2 millimeters, because I want a 2 millimeter border all the way around that pink word. So I'm going to press OK. And then all you need to do is drag the original one out of the way. And you've now got your 2 millimeter matte layer. And as it makes the outside bigger, it makes the inside smaller. Okay, so we don't even need to think about that bit. Sometimes some of the words it does, some of the others it doesn't. And it all depends on whether it's been created by a designer that's made it a compound path. So a compound path means that even though you've got the outside edge and you've got the inside aperture of the O and the inside aperture of the E, when they compound it, they make it one shape. If they hadn't compounded it, you would have had to go in and make the inside bit smaller and the outside bit bigger. So it depends on how it's been saved as a file. But as we go through the classes, we'll talk more about that. You don't need to worry about that at the moment. So what I then want to do from this one is make a 2.25, so a 2¼ millimeter offset line, okay? So we highlight this one, we go back into our offsets again, and we make this 2¼ so 2.25 millimeters. And then I press OK again, and I move that one out of the way. So this is my first one, this is my second one, and that's my third one. Now it's done exactly what I've just said it's going to do, which is really interesting. So it's gone from the biggest, it's made it smaller, but then it's made it bigger again. So what we have to do is put that in the bin, and we're going to go back to this one, and we're going to go to Object Edit, and we're going to create a 4¼ so the 2 that we did originally from the pink to the red plus another 2¼ and we'll see what happens then. So if we take this up to 4¼ there, that's now worked. So if you look now, I've got my original, which is pink, my red one, and then my Noel. So that's really interesting. When you do the first layer, it allows you to do it. As soon as you start to do something from that offset, because it hasn't been compounded, it then goes bigger again. So that's really good that you've learned that. And now if I do this, if I multiple select everything that's on the mat and press OK, and I go to my alignment function, and I align them all centrally vertically and centrally horizontally, and then I'm going to zoom in for you, you will see that they all sit perfectly inside each other. So that's the way that you have to do it. You can't do it the other way. You need to make the offset from the original shape. So that's how you're going to do that. And then you're going to glue all those together. So you're going to put your pink onto your red, like so. So we will do that right now. Yep, glue's dried up again. Of course it has. It doesn't dry up actually, to be fair, it just gets a little skin across it. So you just get your little tweezers in. Don't go chopping it off at the end because then it just floods out. We don't want that. So we are going to use our Noel here. And do you know what? It's funny, I went to school with a boy called Noel Martin. And he was born on Christmas Day. That's so cliche, isn't it? Andrew's saying absolutely it is. But it was way, way, way back when, like, 1969. So I guess times have changed. Right, so we've got Noel there. So that's our red and our pink stuck together. And then we're going to just add in some little holly leaves. So these sprigs are in your SDX machine. So we're going to show you those. So once you've done your Noel like this, tap the screen to release those shapes, save them and cut them out of the appropriate colours that you want them to be cut out of. So I'm going to press home and I'm going to get rid of that because I've already saved mine. Now we're going to go into patterns. And this time we're going to go into these images and icons this month. And we're going to go into our snowflake and we're going to scroll down, and right on the last page there is this little holly sprig here. So we're going to use this. So we're going to set this onto the mat and we're going to make it, so edit it, object edit and resize. And we're going to make this 30 millimeters high. So we're just going to drop the height to 30 millimeters, like that. And then you've got your holly leaf. And I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so I just asked it to do 11 of them. So I went into the duplicate box, pressed the button till it went to 11 and pressed OK. Puts them all in those lines again. Now this time we're going to use a different pattern interval. So we're going to go into here, and the top one will rotate those shapes any which way it needs to get the most out of your piece of card. The middle one will rotate it up to 180 degrees, and the bottom one will put them in a straight line. So we're going to use the top one, and remember we'd already put our pattern interval back to where it was, and it will then put them in a row like that, so it's getting the most out of your cardstock. Just remember that, let's see if this is the case or not. Yes, so once it's rotated it, the height changes. So don't think you've done anything wrong, just it's because it's changed the angle, so the height from bottom to top is shorter than it was, but you will still have the same size holly. And then what I did with my holly was I took 2 of them like this, and I just put a little bit of glue at the bottom here, just on that little stem that sticks down, and then I crossed them over themselves like that. So where the stems meet on this one and where the stems meet on that one, I laid them over the top like that, so you get like a bit of a fuller piece, if you like that. And then I just stuck them where I wanted them on here. Now you can, if you want to, put them on the red one before you stick the pink one on top, if you prefer to tuck them underneath, or you can just pop them on top of the Noel like this. So the choice is yours. And I will put a photograph of this on. I'll get Andrew to photograph it tomorrow. Are you in the office tomorrow, Andrew? Excellent. Andrew's in tomorrow, so we'll get it photographed and popped on our Facebook page, I guess. Yeah. And then so I put one here, one above the O and one by the L. And then I did one down here, one here, and then you were left with a single one. And I put the single one just at the top of the right-hand side of the N, because it just looked like something was missing a little bit. So I just needed one. So Kelly is asking which mat I use with my cardstock. Kelly, it depends how old your mat is. If it's a brand new one, I would use a low tack one for your card, a brand new low tack mat, because it's sticky enough to hold it in place. It won't hold it for many cuts because the low tack is made for a thinner material. But once it starts to move or you don't feel like it's sticking it down properly, re-tack that low tack mat, because then you can use it with all your different materials. It's interesting because, you know, I love questions like that, Kelly, so thank you, because there is a difference between the adhesive that on the mats when you buy them new than when you re-tack them. And I would say that the mats are sticky when you get them new because you can stick something to them. But when you've done it with stencil glue, it's tacky, and the tackiness has a better grip to it. So I was saying yesterday, when I'm cutting construction board, because the machine needs to put quite a lot of pressure onto that board to get through it, and it cuts it several times to make sure that that board stays in place as it goes round several times. I cut on a lighter blade depth, which is cut amount in the settings, and I let it go round a few times. I will always re-tack my mat before I do it. In fact, I bought a brand new standard mat, and that is a thing. I don't just get given them. I know you think I might, but I don't. And I re-tack a brand new mat to make sure that it's sturdy enough. So if you've got brand new standard mat, you can use the cardstock and it won't stick to it like glue, so you can't get it off because it's a good quality card. You tend to find that happens with a lower quality cardstock. But if you've got a low tack one, use the low tack one. And then just re-tack it as you need it. I would rather you re-tacked it more often and use less glue than put too much on and not be able to get everything off. 2 more questions. So do I retack the low tack mat to the same as the other mat? The less glue you put on, the less tacky it will become, but the tackiness of the glue is the same. So I kind of, it's a really interesting one, isn't it? So how do I explain it? Right, so when you're retacking your mat, you're going to get stencil glue on a poly bag, and you're going to use your kitchen sponge, and you're going to get a really light covering on, and then you're going to dab it all the way down methodically across your mat. Then what I want you to do, if you're doing a standard mat, is take the same sponge with the glue on the same end that the glue's on and just swipe it down like that. And that will take off enough glue to make sure that it's not overstuck. If you're using a low tack mat, what I would do is turn the sponge round, so you're using the end that doesn't have any glue on, and swipe it down so it's taking a little bit of the glue off. That's probably how you will keep the difference between a low tack and a standard. And just be aware that if you use too much and you use a cheaper card, you're not going to get it off. Please don't then start hacking at it to try and scrape it off. Run it under the tap, let the water penetrate into that card, and then it will scrape off much easier. So I hope that answers that question. Last question. Do you have to wash or clean the mats before you retack? It depends how clean you've kept them up to that point. So if you've got loads and loads of bits of card all over it, I use my scraper. I use this just to scrape off any excess. If there's loads of bits and it feels really, really bumpy, just soak it in some warm soapy water for a few minutes, take it out, use your scraper, get rid of any excess, and then leave it to air dry, and then retack it. But I don't go in and start scrubbing it with anything. In fact, I think I've done it once or twice where I've needed to soak it. But because at the end of a project, I really kind of use this and get rid of all that excess and make sure that I keep this clean, then I don't tend to worry about it. The other thing I would say as well is turn your mat over and make sure that you keep the back of your mats clean. Because what happens, and this is a prime example, and I was going to clean this machine and then I didn't because I ran out of time. You can see here where this cutting strip is. You will get some, can you see there how it's gone grey? That's kind of like muck off your table. There's no better way of saying it. And it might have a little bit of glue on it that it's picked up, and it might, you get a sticky residue on the back. Please make sure that you keep the back of your mat, especially down here, clean. Because if you've got any glue on here, when it's being taken in by the rollers, if it's really tacky and it grabs it, it can make your mat go in. So if you imagine you've got 2 rollers, one on either side, as you put your mat in, if anything blocks either of those rollers, the other roller will take over more and it can twist your mat. So it's really important. So what I do is just get a baby wipe and just give it a really good clean on the back. If there's any lumps and bumps, use your scraper to get rid of them, but make sure you keep the back as clean as you keep the front. And then for this strip here, which is the strip that the blade cuts into, just again, a baby wipe, just make sure you dry it properly before you start loading things in. But this is just literally residue from mats, because the mat's been loaded in hundreds and hundreds of times in the last few days. It will pick up that residue. Right, once you've done that bit and you've got your holly in place, I then put some foam tape on the back. So I got some dimensional foam tape and I positioned it. Let me just bring in this mat so you can actually see the difference between the white and the glass mat that we're working on. So I then positioned it over the top of there like that, and you will then stick that on top of your rosette. And this one has got pearlescent on it and it looks beautiful. Can you see it's got that shimmer on? So to do this, what I did was I took a spritzer bottle, and we now sell these on our website, which is superb, in packs of 5. And I got the extender from Cadence and the pearl white hybrid. So not the metallic, but the pearl. Is it a metallic? Might be. It's called Pearl anyway. And I put probably 2 parts extender in to 1 part paint, maybe a little bit less paint than that, and just give it a really good mix. And if I'm just going to do it on a piece of green card here like this. You then give it a really good shake and just spritz, and it gives you this pearlescent finish like that, and it's beautiful. And as it dries, it becomes more and more shimmery. Now, the code that I gave you at the beginning gives you 30% off the Brother product, apart from the machine, Brother accessories, and the 12 by 12 cardstock. However, that code tomorrow you will be sent another code for Black Friday, and that will kick in tomorrow. So then you'll be able to get 30% off your bottles, your paint and your extender. So wait for that one, but get your Brother stuff tonight, because we've just brought it forward early. But it's lovely because look, I can go in with this piece of green card and I can make it pearlescent. I mean, it's just beautiful. And it's not like going out and buying a full-on spray, which would probably be for that size, probably $4.99. You can make it with the paint and the extender. And you can make any. So if you wanted to then make this, put red in this as well, you mix the red with the white and you will get a pearlescent finish. Obviously it will dull down the red a little bit because you're adding white to it, but you can make all of your hybrid acrylics pearlescent. It's brilliant. And it gives you a really lovely fine mist, like a really fine mist. It will soak through the back of your cardstock. You just leave it to dry or dry it off with your heat gun, but it is just a lovely, lovely coverage. And the closer you get, the more you'll get on it, and the further away you go, the lighter the spray will be. Also, the more extender you add in, the lighter the spray will be. But it's a really, really nice one, just especially for Christmas, just to add that, because it's not shiny, it's not glittery, it just has that beautiful shimmer. So, first of all, I'm going to apologise for the complete fiasco that class was, but I do hope you've learnt something. And secondly, what I'm going to do is I have worked out how you can use, so if you've got the foiling kit from Brother, you can use that to foil your reflections, and I'm going to do a video showing you exactly how to do that. If you haven't got the foiling kit, you can do it using the small universal pen holder, so the one for narrower pens, and the glue pens. And I need you to use the Brother glue pens because the flow's different, and you also need to know where your glue level is at. So I'm going to do a video of that to show you how on the 2 red robins USBs, there are always the detail files. This is the SVG USBs that I'm talking about. So we're going to take the detail cut, we're going to line it up over reflection, we're going to get the glue to draw the detail lines in, we're then going to cut it out, and then we're going to foil it. Okay, so I promise you by the end of this week we will have done that, because I was going to do it in this class at the end, but with the cameras going down and everything else, me getting the wrong blinking rosette, we are a little bit behind time. But we'll do it in the same place on the Highlight Crafts YouTube channel. All right, so we'll put it out and I'll make sure that it's filmed until it's perfect, not like this class. Right, I'm going to go and, well, I'm not going to go and sit in a dark room and rock because I've got another class to do, but at the end of it I will. Please use that code because 30% off is a great discount. And also that cardstock's really fabulous. And what I love about the way that we've bundled it is that you can buy just reds and pinks, or just greens, or just blues, or just yellows and oranges. So go and choose your favourites and give it a go. It's the perfect cardstock for your ScanNCut, and it's very, well, it's exactly the same as that other brand. So yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for your patience. That's all I can say. And yeah, I'm going to do it all over again. So might be worth watching the CM class just to see if it goes as badly as this one did. Take care. Lots of love. See you soon. Bye.